Today we will discuss about changing urban space of India. We are talking about urbanization of India, urban systems of India. What are its salient features? We were talking about that. So let's start. What do you think? What changed in Indian cities? What is, in your opinion, what changed in Indian city through the ages? First, it was swastika pattern in ancient India. Mahajanpadas uh, were planned cities in Harappan civilization, Indus Valley civilization. Harappa cities were planned cities. Mohenjo-daro cities were planned cities. They were well-lined street. Then came the Delhi Sultanate and Mughal city. We talked about it yesterday. And Sufi urbanism, tent urbanism, and mobile urbanism and Bhakti urbanism. We talked about. Each have its influence on Indian cities, Indian urban system, because some of the cities are quite old, and those cities which are not old, they have developed along. They were villages, they developed along the times. Very few cities in India are new planned cities. Almost all cities have history, some history. So they developed with our history. So the influence of every political system or every cultural or social system is there. Okay, so what do you think? What are these salient features of Indian cities these days? How can we define them? How can we characterize them? What characterizes Indian cities now? And recently, before now, in British time and British planning. What do you think? Yes, we have talked about it in brief sometimes back in earlier classes. What British cities were like. So, what element Britishers added to Indian cities? Yes, let's start with that. What element Britishers added to Indian cities?
Transportation.
Transportation was there. What type of transportation? City transport, you mean? Means
Yes, sir.
trams and
Like the connection of railways.
railways. They added railways, and we talked about that. There was in most of the cities the railway line cuts across the city. It goes almost in the center of the city, and it divides the city in two parts. Which are these two parts? Yes, 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 yes. What were these two parts? Yes, anyone? These two parts were civil lines and old city. Do you know about civil lines? These two parts, the railway line divided the city between civil lines and old city. Yes. Do you hear me? And you can see the board? Yes. Do you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
Please tell me, because I don't know if you are hearing me or not. Yes. You can see the board. Yes.
Yes, sir, it's visible.
Okay. This railway line.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We are hearing you.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Of course.
Yes, Shanu, what you are saying? Yes. What are you saying, Shanu? I cannot understand you. Yes. Yes,
So
Shanu.
he was saying that you are audible.
Okay. So, okay. So, civil lines. What was civil lines?
Thanks, sir. Nothing.
Yes.
Thanks, sir.
Yes, Shanu. What was civil lines? What is civil lines?
Nothing.
Yes. What is
Nothing.
What is civil lines? Yes. Yes, Sumit.
Where most of the residents belonging to higher class they live.
Yes, administrators.
Where most of the residents are employees, officers.
Yes, of Britishers. They were IS officers, ICS in those days, and administrative officers, and civil surgeon. And there was a post civil surgeon, which we call today CMO. That was civil surgeon in those days. Civil lines was as if the other part of the city was not civil. So, and there was old city. You can see it in Aligarh very clearly. There is an old city, which we call Sheher. What we call the old city? Sheher. We don't call the old city the old city. We call it Sheher. Okay. So, and university happens to be in civil lines. Have you seen the exact civil line in Aligarh? Yes. Have you seen the exact civil line in Aligarh? Yes. Have you seen? It is around Lal Dighi.
Like Salient Nagar.
Yes, Salient Nagar. Salient Nagar was a later development. It was around Lal Dighi ADM compound. It is called these days. And DM's Bangalore and other places. You can see it near Lal Dighi area. You can see it. ADM compound it is called these days. And you can add DM Bangalore and other. And one interesting things British added in Indian cities. An old city was Mughal mostly. In the cities which are mature, that is the Mughal part these days. Ancient part got engulfed in that, and sometimes it is in ruins. And they added some very interesting things. They added railway stations. It was an addition in British times, and they added a very interesting thing. You can see in the cities which were developed in middle.
Also.
Yes. Yes. That was a clock tower. Clock tower. Have you seen a clock tower in Aligarh? Have you seen a clock tower in Aligarh? Ghanta Ghar, we called it.
Yes, sir.
Actually, our cities are mix of these days. Our cities are mixture of Mughal and British planning. Ancient elements are also there, but as the time passed, they have changed. So, in our cities, the influence of Mughal planning and Mughal architecture and Mughal planning and British planning is there. Most visible. You can see them. Ghanta Ghar. Have you seen? Ghanta Ghar is there. Yes. Have you seen? It was a clock tower to see the time. In every city, a Ghanta Ghar. In every city which have some British influence, a Ghanta Ghar is there. In tourist destination are cities on hills like Mussoorie and Nainital. There is there is one more very interesting addition of Britishers. That is mall. Have you heard about it? Have you visited Mussoorie or Nainital or Simla?
So, capitals can also be there.
Yes, Shanu. Your voice is not clear. Yes, Shanu. What are you saying? Your voice is not clear.
Capital.
Yes. Yes. I cannot hear you. I cannot understand you. Okay. So maybe your voice
I
quality.
was saying they also build capitals.
They also added. Yes, Shanu. They also added.
Capitals. They build capital.
Yeah, yes, capital city they made also. They made district headquarters. They made capital, and if you go to Allahabad, okay, we were talking about malls. What are malls? Can you tell me what are malls? Yes. Have you seen malls? Yes. Yes. Have you seen malls?
Yes, sir.
What are malls in
Yes,
Indian cities?
definitely.
So that people can buy the basic needs like groceries, clothes.
I'm not talking about that mall. I'm talking about a special zone of Indian cities. Mall road, that is. Mall road. We call it mall road. You can find mall. Actually, it was a commercial hub. And it was a place to visit also. It was a tourist attraction also. If you go to Mussoorie, so it was a sort of social space also. They added social space also in our cities. Earlier in Mughal cities, there was no open social space. There was no tradition of open social space. Which were the social spaces in Mughal cities? They were markets, like Chandni Chowk in Delhi. Have you seen Chandni Chowk? Amina Bazaar in Delhi.
Yes, sir, we have seen.
People used to meet in markets, in haats, in periodic markets, and the concept of social space was not very defined in ancient cities and Mughal cities. So actually they developed. The Britishers added this. Actually, I will like to point out one thing here. There's a very interesting thing you must have noticed, but perhaps you don't have words. City is built. How city is built? Yes, how city is built. Can you see a pattern in city development? Yes. How city is built. Yes. Yes. how city is built. City is built layer by layer. And mostly Indian cities are built layer by layer. You can, if you dig deeper, if you study, if you observe the city deeper and with careful eyes, you can see layers of the city. You can see it in Delhi. There were many Delhis. There were 8 Delhis. There are 8 Delhis. There were earlier 7 Delhis, and now it's a modern Delhi, present day Delhi. There were 8 Delhis. So you can see layers. You can see layers of development in Indian cities in Aligarh also. And one very interesting thing Britishers added to Indian urban landscape was very special. Actually, they can I rub it? You have seen it? So I'm rubbing it. Have you heard about King's Way and Queen's Way? Have you heard about King's Way and Queen's Way? In Delhi. Have you heard about King's Way and Queen's Way? Yes. Have you heard about King's Way and Queen's Way? Yes. आप में से किसी ने किंग्स वे और क्वींस वे का नाम सुना है दिल्ली में? It is the British edition.
No, sir.
Okay. Rajpath.
Yes, sir.
Janpath. Have you
Yes,
heard
sir.
it? What is Rajpath? Where is Rajpath?
So Rajpath is India Gate.
Yes.
Near India Gate. The road passing.
Rashtrapati Bhavan.
The road passing through India Gate. India
yes.
Gate.
The road connecting
Yeah.
Rashtrapati Bhavan and very high officials, Parliament House and India Gate. Yeah, that is Rajpath. That is nothing. It is King's Way. Okay. It was King's Way in British time. We renamed it Rajpath. See the meaning of Rajpath. Okay. And there is Janpath. Where it is? Yes, where it is?
Yes, sir.
There is
So it is
Janpath.
near Rajiv Chowk.
Rajiv Chowk.
Cannot Place. Rajiv Chowk.
Yes, Connaught Place and okay, we will talk about it later. Janpath is Queen's Way. It was called Queen's Way, and they were fond of talking about the kings and queens. Yes, Bombay's Marine Drive. Have you heard? Have you heard of Bombay's?
Yes, sir, we heard. I heard.
Yes, Marine Drive. It is a drive around sea, along the sea. It was called Queen's Necklace. Necklace, you all know. It was called Queen's Necklace. Yes, it was called Queen's Necklace.
Because and also it is in shape of C, capital C.
Yes, yes.
In shape of C.
They were fond of talking about their kings and queens. The Queen's Necklace, there was beautiful lighting. It is still there is a beautiful lighting, and it is very beautiful, scenic to drive around. If you go to Hyderabad, there is also a Marine Drive. That is also if you go to Kerala, Kochi, we have gone to. There is also a King's Way, Rajpath. A Marine Drive is there. they added these things to our cities, and their planning was good, but there was one problem in their planning. They were adding very good infrastructure, very scenic infrastructure. Uh, they were, the British layer is very, very beautiful and ordered and clean and well managed. But there was one problem. Can you point out that problem? Yes. Can you point out that problem? Yes. Yes, Bilal, can you point out that problem? In Indian cities, they were.
I didn't get you. Can you please repeat it?
एक प्रॉब्लम थी ब्रिटिश प्लानिंग वाज वेरी गुड they added very good things in Indian urban scenario. They were good or not, they were good as political masters or not, but they added very good things in our urban landscape, and we carry those good things still. बट देयर वॉज वन प्रॉब्लम, एक प्रॉब्लम थी उनकी प्लानिंग में, एक बड़ा स्पेशल चीज़ दिखती है उनकी प्लानिंग में, और दैट इज़ अ प्रॉब्लम. कोई बता सकता है? They were doing all this. They were doing all this good planning mainly in civil lines, in their quarter of residence. Mostly, I'm not saying 100%, but mostly they were adding these good things in civil lines. Clock tower, you can see. Where is the clock tower of Ghantaghar in Aligarh? Yes.
So near DM's residence.
Yes, near DM's residence and near railway station. That is an agglomeration of linkages, and these things were being added in civil lines where the Britishers live and where their favorite Indians live. So they were adding. They were not adding. They were not improving the old city much. क्या कहते हैं, उन्हें उनके हाल पे छोड़ दिया. They done. I'm not saying, I'm not denying that. Their planning is very good. If you go to Europe or UK, you will see that their planning is very good. A very special thing is there. They love symmetry, and all the railway stations of Britishers or metro stations look alike. There's a definite pattern, and you could find you have a mind map of that railway station. They all over the world, in India also they develop railway stations like they developed railway stations in London. So they love symmetry, they love a pattern, they don't love variety in buildings at least, and city planning. So so we were talking about it. They added marine drives and Kingsways and Queensways all over the place. They added railways. They added trams. Tram was running in Delhi around 40-50 years back. Actually, we have reintroduced that tram as Delhi Metro. And tram still runs in Calcutta, and it runs on roads. Have you seen it? Has anyone seen tram railway rail on roads? Have anyone seen? Have anyone seen it? Yes. If you go to Kolkata, the tram is still
Not
running.
seen, but read in books.
Okay, if you go to Kolkata, you can feel it. It's a very interesting phenomenon. They run on roads. and they added malls, and they added golf courses in our cities. Golf courses, golf course. What is a golf course? They added golf courses in our cities. If you go to Bangalore, you will find a golf course in the midst of the city. Though golf originated perhaps not in UK, but they added golf courses. If you go to Bangalore, golf courses are, yes. Do anyone know about golf? Yes. Do anyone know about golf? Yes. Do anyone know about golf? Yes.
So golf courses are big courses and they need a lot of space.
Yes, and golf is a sport. Yes, and they are very beautiful. They are very scenic. If anyone has seen the golf course, if you go to Ranikhet, there is a very beautiful golf course still there. If you go to Bangalore, there is a very good golf course still there. There were plans of adding a golf course in Aligarh in university area also, but somehow it didn't happen. So they added golf courses, and they also added one very special thing you can find still in cities. They added clubs. They were fond of clubs. They added clubs in every cities. Have you seen? In small towns? In small towns also they added clubs. Have you seen clubs? British clubs still. In Calcutta you can find Gymkhana Club. Yes, they added clubs. In every city, small towns also, they added clubs. Yes. Aligarh Club is there. Have you seen it? And I was living in a very, very small town, and there was also a club. Club was, what is a club? Can you tell me? Have you heard about some clubs? Club culture was there. Actually, we in AMU have inherited that club culture. Everything is a club here. Has mountaineering club, isn't it? Riding club, film club. So, we inherited that terminology from them. There was a club that was a social space, and some clubs were very special. They forbade Indians to enter them. There was a certain dress code, and they forbade the Indian. No Indian can enter those clubs. Still there, and they added coffee houses. Actually, Britishers introduced coffee and tea. They added coffee houses. You can find coffee houses in Calcutta. So they created social spaces there. When the British gone, we continued most of these things, but we added one special thing. We added zones. We are fond of zones. We added zones. Zones is it. Now in every city there is zones. We use terminology like Posh Colonies. Have you heard about it? Yes. Have you heard? What are Posh Colonies? Yes. Yes, Roman. What are Posh Colonies?
Basically, people of higher class live in this area.
Yes.
With good
Elite
infrastructure.
class lives there. Huh? As our higher class, so we believe in, we are a hierarchical society. So we create zones of cities. We have zones. And we detest some zones in cities. Isn't it? In Aligarh, you will find people saying, "Oh, you live in Sayyid Nagar, good. If you live you live on Maris Road, oh, good. That is a posh area of Aligarh. Oh, you live in Jeevan, oh. Or you live in Jamalpur, oh. Isn't it? That feeling is there. We create zones and hierarchies in our cities also. City planning also. There is an element of hierarchy and zones in city planning. That is a very, very bad thing actually. But it is so. जो है वो है ना? So zones are there, and very interesting thing is there that these zones don't have good linkages. ये आपस में बहुत अच्छे से जुड़े हुए नहीं हैं, isn't it? Why? Can you tell me why these zones are not linked properly? Good linkages are not there. Yes, can you tell me why it is so? Can anyone tell me? What is the reason? Because it was not meant to be. Because they were not meant to be connected.